Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333, and welcome to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order Last Days of Europe. Now, last time we hopped into some HoI 4, it was actually as Komi, the very nation we're playing as right now. Although, we took a very different, dramatic path that we probably will not be doing this time. It'll be dramatic, but not in the same way. We hopped in, empowered the right wing, and enabled a Sergei Tabaritsky to take control. And, well, everyone knows the deal with the funny clock, man. Needless to say, funny, haha. Anywho. So, it's been a little bit. I took a bit of a break from HoI just because, you know, I just finished a Tabaritsky game. I kind of needed a break. But I wanted to go ahead and hop in. Since we were playing Komi already, I'll do a different, another game as them. Now, this is not going to be a Tabaritsky game, which I know this is on the new update. A new patch drop. They added a bunch of stuff for Tabaritsky. And I was thinking about playing that. And I probably will at some point. Don't get me wrong. It seems like a fair bit of fun. I won't replay it, but I will do some stuff off camera to get to the point and then go through all the end tags, or check it out at least. So that's it for now, but you might be noticing, wait, this is a little different. This is, you're already in a game, number 1, 2, still Komi. Well, I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a look-see look about what we've done. First off, we have a friend on the left. We're still staying tight with Zhdanov. And we are empowering the left. Now, Suslov is very, very close to overpowering us. Zhdanov is close, but Suslov has a bit of an edge. But I figured, well, you can get a look at the pie chart here. Stalina is overpowering. The right is pretty much a non-entity, so it's the left. All the far left factions. And I posted a little teaser about this on the YouTube and on my Discord a while back. But we're going to be hopping in as a fella named Zhdanov. And we're doing the 2-part TNO Space Trilogy. We started the first one a while ago with John Glenn in America. And so this is kind of take 2. Second go about with that. I didn't do anything in the AI, the custom AI settings to enable John Glenn. So if the AI ends up doing that, that would be hilarious, and I would be very, very happy if that happened. But we're going to start violence at the polls. And I was sitting a little bit. Don't need to worry about that, but I skipped ahead just because I want to get to the meat of the action. I don't want to go through the usual stuff at the start, just because that kind of gets a little... It gets a little old. I've done it 4 times already. I don't think you guys are interested in seeing it a 5th time, so we're just going to cut to the chase here. But we are going to read all the unique stuff that I come across, starting with Zhdanov's ploy. Alone in a dacha in the outskirts of Syktyvkar, Andrei Zhdanov was smiling as he was going through his papers and documents. Yes, it was all there. He wrote a note to his secretary detailing how to distribute the files to the correct recipients, then stopped and looked at his desk at the framed photograph of him and Vasnetsky drinking coffee, or at least what passed for it these days, the very same dacha 4 years earlier. Quite clever, wasn't I, Nikolai? Poor trusting man. He never had it in you to fully separate public and private life. His smile faded. And even wiser, you would have tried to end it sooner, but your pride wouldn't allow you, would it? You wouldn't have done the same in my position, which is why it had to be done. We must all give something for the Republic, for Russia, for the Revolution. He sighed and flipped the picture to face down before picking up the next pile of documents to be leaked over to press. On his way out to the door, he cast a glimpse back over his shoulder before flipping the light switch. Goodbye, old friend. Then the light went out, the door closed, and the moment was gone. There are no friends in politics. So Zhdanov's influence is going to increase, libertarian socialism is going to change in popularity a little bit, and we'll get Zhdanov's dealings. Now, is that going to be enough to get us over? Yep, we are just slightly more influential than Suslov, it seems. Ooh. A series of devastating leaks have hit our government, seriously destabilizing our authority and possibly crushing our chances in the upcoming election. The leaks allege, and prove with several hours worth of audio tapes, pictures, and official government papers, that Vznetsky has been involved in abuse of his position from the very beginning of his presidency in order to cut deals with the Communist Party for votes and possibly personal favors. Some of the actions, like the awarding of supposedly open contracts to communist-affiliated cooperatives, are flat-out illegal. The DSNP is in full damage control mode, trying to avoid an impeachment push led by the enraged Passionary. While the coalition is reeling, the KPK, on the other hand, have no comment on the matter, beyond stating that there is nothing in the leaks that proves that communist leaders involved, most prominently Zhdanov, had any knowledge of how the gifts from the president were done illegally. The president himself has locked himself in his office, from where he has been trying to call someone all day without luck. Our administration may be history. Why did this happen to us? Why is it always to us? The people's faith in the government, especially the DSNP, will collapse. Look at all that center power. Oh my god. Or the lack of it. Jeez. Yep, no one believes in democracy anymore. So it's gonna make the polls a lot of fun, let me tell you that. Into the unknown. Violence at the polls. Who would have thunk it? Reports of threatening leftist activity. More violence has begun to pick up as more agitators are taking to the streets. We have information that these are leftist extremists who are protesting our actions in the election. They are claiming we have illegally taken action against their movements and against the democratic process. Now these anarchists have begun causing large amounts of damage, and conflicts between the agitators and police have grown. The leftist paramilitaries have gone even as far as preemptively declaring the election as rigged, even though not every vote has not even been counted. This hurt legitimacy of our elections, as it appears we are deliberately trying to secure our power. Whether this has any impact on our government remains to be seen. Our police continue to try and keep this violence at a minimum, but it appears the violence will only keep growing until the elections are over and the government secures its power. When can this election be over already? Give it a few days. Minority rule. At least it wasn't a total loss. With large leftist opposition, we'll have to appease the far left if we want to get anything done. This will make it much more difficult to stabilize our government after the election turmoil. Some new legislators were even caught during the election alongside paramilitaries and militias. There's no doubt that the far left now has considerable power. Despite it all, and there's a lot, Vznetsky stood before the National Assembly as president once more. Was it because of a desire to not disturb Komi's fragile peace, or was it because of some hidden quality Vznetsky possessed that made him stand above the other candidates? Or was it the communist support? It was probably the covert communist support. Either way, Vznetsky was now president, again, given an inaugural speech before the National Assembly once more. Within a speech, Vznetsky laid out his plans for Komi's future. My fellow citizens of the Republic, we must seek unity, not strife. Our republic must stand strong and unite against those who would seek to destroy it. Whether these threats are coming from without or within, we must stand united and strong against the banner of democracy. We must stand strong against the banner of Marx. The DSNP and myself seek the establishment of socialism within our republic, and in my second term, I thought it was for inauguration. We will continue to prepare Komi for its transition towards socialism. Under the DSNP, Komi has seen remarkable progress, and continuation of our programs can only improve Komi further, in order to truly make it great. We must stand against factionalism, stand against those who seek to divide us. We must stand against subversion and bloodshed. We must stand together for Komi. We must stand for the Republic. While certainly a passionate speech, some critics are worried that this means that Vznetsky simply wishes to stay his previous path, and are worried that Komi is destined for yet more scandals and yet more corruption. Nevertheless, only time will tell if Vznetsky was the right choice for Komi. He wasn't. Spoiler alert. And so, a house of cards has fallen down on the center never was built that high for the right. So right now the left is the preeminent power with a whole 1 influence point above Suslov. And it looks like we're at the critical point. It appears we have seriously underestimated how dangerous our political current position is. Protests and rioters have been expanded, as our police force cannot handle the growing number of people protesting our actions. There are also reports of far-left attacks on our garrisons. Paramilitaries and militias from the far left have even gotten into several armed conflicts with our military. With the chaos growing, we are beginning to suspect an incoming radical leftist coup. The information we have within the leftist parties reports of plans to storm government offices and quite possibly the legislature. We have even detailed information on the movement of weapons and possibly parts of military planning treason. We must act before everything gets out of control, but we have no idea what to do or who to trust. Even our informants are sending mixed messages. With a large possibility of disloyal sections of the military supporting the coup, we must secure our government buildings. The leftists could strike at any moment. We may not have much time left. Was that a pun? Left? Ha ha ha. Okay, so we have a victory for democracy, question mark. I might just take that just to get a little extra political power, and then, yeah. So after counting every vote, it turns out the Democrats had received a plurality of the vote. Even more surprising, Komi citizens, it seems that the moderates have decided to go it alone. Without a clear majority of delegates, the resulting government is destined to be an extremely weak one. Yet the parties of the center left to center right have decided to gamble that neither the far left nor the far right will dare to cause a vote of no confidence so soon after the elections. Perhaps the far left and far right militias will give the government at least a month to live. You guys barely have a week. You have a week and a half. I don't even think they have a week and a half, boys. Syktyvkar was burning. It seems that the efforts to ensure the center would win the election were not as strong as once believed. Violence by extremists was reported 6 hours ago. 2 hours ago, the first Molotov was thrown. Now the city streets of Syktyvkar became an all-out war zone, with different factions determined to wrestle control over the facilities of government. It seems that the worst-case scenario had become reality, and now it was a time of survival. Elena and Yevgeny were shocked, initially. How could all of their efforts have failed? Was the center not united enough? Perhaps the extremists gained too much strength. Whatever the case, both of them had been drafted to serve under an emergency government under Vesnensky. Their goal was no longer to save democracy, but save Komi entirely from the ever-encroaching threat of radical takeover. Yevgeny, is this a bad dream? His expression did not give her any condolences. Perhaps behind his usual carefree and steely demeanor, he was terrified too. The only way to wake up is to work together now. This time for real. I know we can do it. Placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, the two pass by some soldiers and walk into an emergency command room, ready to take action once more. The strength of the center is put to the test. So the center is currently in power, the left is extremely threatening, the right is not threatening even remotely. Well, we got 25 political power, at least. Wait for it, and... okay. There we go. The first sign of trouble is when a representative who leaves on a smoke break doesn't come back to the legislature on time. It's a common ailment for the smoke lovers republic. Cigarette breaks last far longer than they should, particularly because of a sheer difficulty procuring sticks from the chaotic supply routes traceable to India and China. Every cigarette break is a luxury, to be savored, not expended. Even though a cigarette break is physically incapable of lasting for a full hour, and at 2:30 a search party is sent out to reprimand the representative and get his voting record on the present bill. Decorum is decorum, after all. It is quite a surprise when the search party instead discovered armed men outside the doors of Congress. As a furious scuffle begins between the reluctant gunmen and the furious representatives, shots are fired into the air. Guards rush to the defense of the beleaguered politicians from within the chamber. The session becomes an armed standoff between two very irate groups of aging men and women. It is comical for about 5 minutes. Then the armored column arrives. Red stars splayed on their sides and banners are waving from the hatches leave no doubt as to who the mastermind of this little action is. From the first tank, Zhdanov and Suslov crutch little Ushanks. Zhdanov is yelling like a cowboy to the other tanks, almost exuberant, while Suslov is unnervingly silent. Crowds gather around the column, yelling slogans and waving banners of their own. As columns aim their considerable armaments on the Parliament, options narrow and vanish. Army units refuse to assemble or simply dissolve like snow at a fingernail touch. At precisely 3:18 p.m., the Komi Republic is dissolved, as Honorary Secretary Zhdanov reads his first address of a newly formed Soviet Socialist Republic, alongside his new premier, Suslov. A triumph for the workers, so the Communist Party under Zhdanov has taken control of the Republic. So here we are, Andrei Zhdanov. Andrei Alexandrovich Zhdanov, a name surrounded by either love or suspicion, depending on how much one actually knows about the man. Zhdanov is one of Komi's key politicians, a proud socialist leader with experience from chairing the Leningrad Communist Party before the Great Patriotic War. Zhdanov ended up entangled with the government of US Revolution, with the front, serving as an influential figure in an attempt to encourage Russian cultural unity against the Germans. However, the front fell, and with it Zhdanov's beloved Universal Cultural Program. When the government fled to Syktyvkar and promptly dissolved, Zhdanov stayed behind, forming ties with Mikhail Suslov in the series of coups and power struggles that preceded the formation of the Republic. Despite his more authoritarian socialist stances in the early days of the Republic, Zhdanov has recently taken to pushing for more libertarian initiatives, democratization of a Komi socialist state, encouraging growth of minority culture, and reconciliation with the center-left. Additional initiatives he has supported include a greater synthesis of universal culture, science, and ideology into a general doctrine of Zhdanov-Ovshchina, increasing prioritization towards research into scientific management within the Communist Party, and creating standards for revolutionary art. Still, paranoia seems to follow him, as persistent rumors push the idea that his true nature is not truly changed, but rather lying deep below the surface, waiting for him to acquire true power. Quite possibly. Until we come up with that, let's check out the coup. Well, let's go ahead and check out Zhdanov's coup. The bourgeois republic has come to an end. The people of the Komi ASSR have cried out for the return of socialist guidance ever since the fall of the front, and it has finally arrived. General Secretary Zhdanov now presides over the Republic, with his allies filling every post within the Executive and National Assembly. The Communist Party has returned, and the people rejoice. However, this is not the time for idleness. Enemies of the people reside behind every post and square of the former Republic. Liberals, social fascists, and reactionaries that the old government allowed to grow unchecked permeate every resistance movement and hidden away rival governments in the lands that we have liberated. Under Comrade Zhdanov, always the grand forward thinker and visionary of the party, we will bring them to an end and uplift Komi into a new age. There we go. Where do we want to start with? Let's go working towards the people's alternative. Let the people of Komi realize, from the Capitol building to the common citizen, that Andrei Zhdanov is what the people have craved for so long. He's a man of passion, who has a strong head on his shoulders, and his affable personality and relatable characteristics make him down to earth when compared to the stoic Suslov. The government of Komi has failed to provide their people with the voice necessary to show their support for Zhdanov, so in his wisdom he has chosen to force the gates open and let the citizens express their gratitude, and he will make this fact well known to anyone who is willing to listen. Well, there we are. So we have no political power, but I'm not overly worried about that right now. I am a little worried about, let's see, they're ready for victory. Oh no. Oh no, not this guy again. Oh no. Well, I've seen Zukov come in clutch before. Greetings, proud citizens of the Komi Republic. My name is Andrei Zhdanov, and you may know me as one of the leading figures of a left political alliance. Much speculation on the future of this country has occurred, especially following the dissolution of the former regime. However, I've decided to broadcast this message to national radio to tell you that a bright future is ahead of us. Many of you constructed an image of what a republic ruled by Suslov's socialists would be, but these premature conjectures are much different from what awaits it. I, as General Secretary, will from now on be leader of this country, dictating its policies and hearing the voices of the people. And from this position, I must inform you that the Suslovite plans will not be fulfilled. What the new government has to offer is the socialist alternative. Not a single person will have to worry about falling into poverty or being chased down by secret police for their political beliefs. The goal we have set to accomplish is that of a free socialist state, built on the principles of liberty and solidarity. The alternative will not be built on exclusion of those who do not agree, but inclusion of all who can benefit. It is an undeniable truth that the writings of the first and the greatest proponents of socialism had the best intentions when creating and spreading their ideals. No matter how much leaders twisted them in the past, we are here to rebuild the republic for the good of its people. It is for that reason that I ask you to respect the state that only cares for your own good and prosperity. Do not bring about the chaos and anarchy that my predecessors could not prevent, but embrace this new opportunity. Together, we can forge a new future for Komi. Because the world is not enough. Increase the influence of the left and Zhdanov. There we go. Well, from here, let's do a strike. Actually, let's get some connections to the remnants. The DSNB has crashed and burned, and what remains are the only scant few allies of Vosnensky that have no allies, nor any real support remaining. We will offer them a helping hand. They may not be filled with as much revolutionary zeal as us, but their ideology is a humane one, and after all, who would Zhdanov be if he did not respect the wishes of his friend? Probably not premier of the party, but that's besides the point. Let's do a strike against tyranny real quick. Actually, let's do a popular political struggle. It would be silly to think that only those in the high caste can make decisions. Who are we to say that we must shut ourselves off and decide what the people want? Zhdanov's Komi is not a palace of nobles. We must encourage the citizens that it is their ward that decides the future of this country. Those more politically engaged will be encouraged to join organizations dedicated to debating the ideas of socialism, while others will be recruited into government offices. The old, the young, the men, and the women, all will lead Komi forward. It was as if Zhdanov had decided not to end any last chance he had of working with the center. Of course, what was once a fleeting coalition of the Komi Republic had been scattered by his seizure of power, and so had the Vosnensky. Some had fled Syktyvkar, either to leave the country and push their agenda from abroad, or to continue residing from the countryside of Komi. However, some members of the former president's faction had still not left the capital, perhaps because they were willing to cooperate. Zhdanov would capitalize on this opportunity. The center's left wing would be approached with an intriguing chance to remain in power, and that was to peacefully collaborate. Seeing the new leader of the country had already made an extensive effort to support Vosnensky and his people to get into power, it wasn't that hard to believe that they would use the Social Democrats to consolidate his rule, which was by no means perfectly stable, even though this was a common occurrence for the government of Komi. What Zhdanov and his allies understood, though, was that there was perhaps an even better way to solidify their control over the violent political stage, and that was by backstabbing. Having gained the trust of Vosnensky, it would be more than simple to make the planned meeting in which talks with them over a national union government would be held a trap. They would be in a perfect position to be arrested, and so the Social Democratic faction of the center would disappear in the blink of an eye. In the end, whether betrayal was the best choice was up to Zhdanov. You know what? I've assembled you all here, so the Republic may be saved. Get a small amount of Socium support. Let's see, anti-communist protest. A little cringe, but what are you gonna do? We have high legitimacy. We're doing fine. Our political power isn't the best, but what are you gonna do? Got a popular political struggle. Now let's freeze their activities. The capitalists and fascists will forever hide in the shadows, waiting for their opportunity to strike and ruin our efforts to advance humanity forward. That's why Zhdanov has proposed an idea. We will take measures, both legal and perhaps not so legal, to slow down the efforts of the opposing parties. In his wisdom, Zhdanov will force them to pace their steps in such a way that anything they do will simply be countered with ease. None may bring down humanity, so long as they bear the torch of socialism. Militarist propaganda. Our grand military is currently in need of more loyal bodies willing to shed blood for the communist government. One of the most effective ways to gather more troops is to flood the national airways with our militarist propaganda in order to invoke loyalty in our subjects. Though much of our message to the public are loud and threatening, it is necessary to instill courage and toughness into anyone still willing to pick up a rifle. Unfortunately, the broadcast of such propaganda may also deter citizens from their faith in the communist system. Shall we continue with broadcasting, risking the people's opinions of us? The extra manpower would be okay, but I'm not too worried about that. I think we'll just... It's the wrong choice for the situation. Vehicle sabotage. Freeze their activities. Cruel month. Okay, let's see. Outlaw to criminalize. I'm gonna guess it's for gay rights, women's rights, minority rights, and labor. I have to do a strike against tyranny first, but first let's see the files. Many things can be said about the capitalists, but the more radical of Zhdanov's government, including Zhdanov himself, see the Democratic Center as nothing more than a tool to eventually bring the fascist menace. Much of Komi's population would not agree with this idea, however. We have decided to take a course of action that would be inevitable. With manufacturing corruption and bribery within the democratic elements of Komi, we will hasten their downfall and expose them for what they would turn into. Okay, so let's see. Magadan is hanging in so far. Irkutsk has one. Zhdanov mulled over the file from his desk. Apparently the liberals planned to seize several files from a party, although the plans had been discovered. Zhdanov wondered what he should do with this information. It would be trivial to plant some false information and have them turn on each other, especially if several of their leaders and politicians were to suddenly be revealed to have fascist sympathies, or selling paramilitary supplies to the highest bidders behind their back. But was seeding the files worth the effort? Their interference were discovered it could further unite the liberals and cause some unnecessary hassle down the road. Planting the files seems low risk, but you can never be too cautious. Execute. Let's give it a shot at least. Now let's silence the unconvinced. There are those who remain who do not share the same vision as us. No, to go a step further, they seek to ruin, torment, and corrupt our vision to something else. We will not allow ourselves to be destroyed by reactionary elements. Many times has this happened in history, but it will not happen here. These voices who wish to bring Komi to ruin will be brought down, and such dissent will be silenced forever. There we go. Let's do horizontal. Ooh. Can the police do something? I'm sure they will eventually. Days passed, and predictably the files were seized. A few short days later, several prominent liberal leaders were disappeared without Zhdanov's involvement. Judging from which leaders were disappeared and the time frame of disappearance, it appears that the liberals took the bait. They fell for the false intel, and the operation was a major success. Zhdanov smiled to himself as he read the reports. A few rushed documents, and an underpaid party official had allowed them to deal a nice blow to the liberals of Komi. Considering the success of the plan, Zhdanov thought that such tactics should be used more often, although the trick may not work as well a second time. None of that mattered right now, for today was a good day for Zhdanov. The liberals were being so helpful to the cause. Wonderful. We are losing no legitimacy now. That is beautiful. Now we'll silence the unconvinced. There are many doubters within the Communist Party of Komi. Few men and pledge their whole faith in Andrei Zhdanov. Even his allies are unconvinced in regard to his main objectives. These party members may prove to be quite dangerous later on, obstructing Komi and Zhdanov's success. They may rat him out for being too much of an idealist with no realism to back his cause. What hangs in the balance is the decision. Should he eliminate these allies now, nipping them on the problem, or should he let them live and support within his party? They're everywhere, as predicted. Now let's go ahead and get a strike against tyranny. Question mark. The monarchists and social fascists are content to sit and sap the strength of Komi away. Pathetic. What would we be if we did not eliminate the trace remnants of these reactionary ideologies? Some in Zhdanov's government, however, have voiced protest. If we strike too soon, we may run the risk of our efforts backfiring on us. Zhdanov himself is content with burning out the fascist ilk like weeds on a garden, but nevertheless he must listen. The only thing he will determine the fate of, and only then will he determine the fate of the opposition. Of course, of course. Let's see. Kemerovo versus Novosibirsk. I think we're just going up against Kemerovo. Freedom cannot be found in bourgeois democracy. There you are chained by those whose wealth funnels to the top. They decide a man's future not fully of his own free will. Freedom cannot be found in fascism. There you are tied to the identity of a state, a monolithic, faceless entity that only wishes to subsume the identity of those who fall prey to its inhumane tactics. Only in Zhdanov's socialism may freedom be found. To vote, to think, to speak, to walk freely, to step forward and shatter the notion that this is the end of history. There we go. So our legitimacy is high. We don't have that much to do at this point, other than point out how Komi belongs to the people. At last the revolution has been established. We'll have safeguarded its existence, and no more will we have to worry about a counter-revolution or any menace that will taint Zhdanov's vision of a pure socialist Russia. With the support of our people, nothing will halt Komi's advance. No capitalists or fascists will be allowed to stand in our way. With Zhdanov at the helm and the countenance of the government, Komi will be unbreakable. Now that we have rid ourselves of any guilt, regrets, and mistakes of the past, there is only one path to take. Forward. Alright! There we go. Boost to Lipsosh. The right is sees a community house. The PRC versus Erotia. Interesting. Iberian Council. Not very neighborly of them. Well, we tick down. And then I think we're pretty much good. We got the new rifles, very nice. What do you want to research from here? Maybe night vision. That works. And here we are. We got our new focus tree. So let's take a look. It's been a while since I've done this. So, we have the political stuff. We also have our reunification stuff. We have to do one eventually before we do the other, of course. So, we'll get the road to Arkhangelsk, which... is it calling yet? Forward into dawn. They're not calling quite yet, but news will be found soon. There'll be some news coming out of there soon. So we do that. We can try to make nice with the front. It'll be a nice idea if Zhukov can somehow come in clutch here. Which it is possible, I suppose, but how possible, I'm not sure. So let's get some loot going. So we have unrest in the party. So let's check this out real quick. With our administration finally secured, the matter of internal affairs has finally risen to the front of the Communist Party's policy. Ensuring ideological unity is absolutely critical to the unification of Russia under our banner. So it will serve as our primary non-military based task. And so we have a different influence. Suslavite influence is overpowering, so is Zhdanovite influence. Bukharinist influence is very low. The party is pretty stable overall. Zhdanov is most influential politician. So far, so good. Let's start with the revolution secured. Despite the efforts of reactionaries, communism in Komi has survived. We have managed to weather the coups and counter-coups, survived deception, and even seized power. With the stabilization of Komi, the time has come to look outwards. For too long, Russia has remained divided, split between the countless warlords. We shall end this chaos and anarchy by first bringing the warlords in our region to heel, then the ones in the rest of Russia. The reactionaries throughout Russia may think the flame of revolution extinguished, but they are wrong, for it has only just begun to burn. A little bit of extra stability. I'll take it. They woke up with bags around their head, and their hands tied with rope. All they felt was a tight grasp of someone escorting them, and forcing them to their knees. Elena and Yevgeny breathed heavily, as other people were forced to sit around them. The crackle of flames was present around them. What exactly happened? Their heads hurt, their hands were weary. They felt that something was incredibly amiss. With the motion of one of the commissars, all the bags were removed. Yevgeny looked around them, seeing fellow members of Center tied up with them as prisoners. Communist partisans and soldiers were armed, rounding up members of the democratic opposition. Listen closely. Everyone here is considered a traitor to the Komi Provisional Soviet. You will now be tried against the People's Commissariat for crimes against our glorious revolution. How do you plead? Not guilty! Elena and Yevgeny shouted in unison. Deep down, as they held on to some youthful hope that they had a chance. However, as the trial went on, the commissar spoke as several assemblymen were taken away around them, becoming clear that this was a show trial. This was the end. Meaningless words, piercing their defenses like tank shells, rallying the super-partisan council of judges assembled against them. It would certainly meet their depths. However the communists decided to do it, however, was what occupied their minds. What are you going to do to us? We did nothing. Guilty! Let them hang alongside their collaborative brethren. Despite their cries, despite their physical resistance, this was the end. Elena and Yevgeny, with the strike of a gavel, now had their necks wrought around a noose. They had failed. Despite all their promises, their work would be for naught, with the simple collapse of the platform. Tears escaped Yevgeny's eyes. Elena remained silent. Both of them composed themselves, with a final exhale before their lives were taken from them as swiftly as the floor below them dropped. The revolution eternal, but at what cost? So we got some new guys we can put in. Let's get Valentin Vernikov, and for generals, let's get... Let's see... Let's go with Nikolai Oblisnin. Why not? And then we'll finish the first focus, secure the revolution. After a chaotic period of violence, our faction has secured control of the Komi Republic and, for now, remains safe from any kind of coup attempt. However, that is not to say our position is stable. Lingering remnants of our past political rivals still remain in the country and could potentially cause issues if they are left to their own devices. We We have no choice but to take preemptive action. We must find these dissenters before they can cause serious damage to our efforts to stabilize the situation. Security forces stand ready to conduct a search on key targets from several opposing factions suspected to have a presence in the country. Their base of power will wither away without a strong leader at the reins, so surgical strikes targeting the head of dissenting groups is necessary. Once these targets are found, we will have a variety of options available for dealing with them. Time is of the essence, however, for it is very possible some may try to flee the country before we have a chance to catch up with them. Well, that'll open up hunting the opposition, arrest and imprison. Yeah, we could do that. For now, though, let's see what we could do. Fill up process. We can eventually go after the front. I don't know how likely that is just because, I I'm not too optimistic about Zhukov coming in clutch and taking the victory, although it could happen, I suppose. So then eventually we'll have the war, we'll have everything else that we need to do. If there is anything we need to do, the West will be ours. Fair industry. We have to figure out the rest of the political stuff shortly after. So let's begin the rebuilding for now. Let's get some basic industry stuff, because God knows our current industry is not good enough. After so many years, the German bombs have finally stopped falling. While we weren't able to immediately begin rebuilding due to the chaos that enveloped Komi, the time has come to fully utilize all the resources Komi has to offer. We can begin the paving of more roads to reach even the deeply rural lands. Furthermore, we can rebuild the train stations and railroads, and use them without the expectation that they will be destroyed in a matter of weeks, allowing us to transport more resources across Komi at a quicker rate. While one could argue that there are many new options open to us, an infrastructure drive is the most pressing matter to complete, as a country is nothing without infrastructure. Agreed. Adolf Hitler is dead. Something's wrong. I hold my head. Hitler's gone. The fear is dead. Well, we've begun rebuilding. Where do we go from here? We could secure the party, perhaps. But for now, let's establish a true army. During the chaos in Komi, we were forced to lean on our own militias and the elements of the Republican army that were loyal to us. However, even though we now control the military, the fact of the matter remains that the military is defensive in nature. To embark on a grand campaign to unify Russia now with our current military would only lead to failure. Therefore, it is clear that we must revamp and reform the military into the Komi Red Army, so that it can not only defend us from threats, but help us push aggressively against our enemies and unify Russia. There we go. Goes Kemerovo, so it's either the PRC. Oh, okay, yeah, Civil War. It's thus necessary that the individual should, you get the deal. You've read it already. I've read it already. I'm curious as to who's, let's see, relaxing training standards. They're doing some stuff there. Mongolian factions under control. Well, it seems that the bombings have stopped. Clear skies, but dark clouds ahead. Luftwaffe terror bombings are gone. And here we stand. The front is about to get a call from Arkhangelsk. Tukhachevsky and Zhdanov Zhukov are going to figure out what's the future. I'm sure the monarchists are doing stuff. Who knows what these fuckers are doing? Who really cares about these guys? They're figuring it out. All that matters now is that it's time to end the video, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content feature, hit the sub button for more uploads every weekday as well as occasionally Saturdays. If you have any comments, feedback, concern, anything of the sort, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I appreciate any feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, anything of the sort, check out my Discord down link below. If you want to send a few bucks my way every month, I have a Patreon. If you want to see me do sort of live, I have a Twitch, all of which are down in the description box below. That's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for watching. My name has been DB333, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.